Welcome again, everyone. Today is Saturday, the 28th. We've just put a pretty big week behind us, the first week of the Trump administration. Jim, you're on?
I'm right here. Yep.
Great. This was quite a week. I mean, it was absolutely packed with things that got done or are beginning to be done.
And nobody really expected it, Bill. Not even Trump's closest supporters. That so much of what he said, if not every single thing he said, was going to come like lightning in a presidential order.
I can tell you myself, I was just thinking that if he did one thing of all the things he talked about, and that would be to appoint a truly conservative Supreme Court justice, that was worth my vote. Well,
that still is the center, okay, of the true character of what's taking place.
Because, well, we'll see that this week.
Yeah, because remember, even a presidential order can get smashed by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court in a process of trial.
Well, one of the things, and just actually, I think it came out this morning or late yesterday, was his executive order on immigration.
Bombshell. Done when people were flying over expecting to climb out from the most serious countries of conflict and walk into America.
It pertains to Iran, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Somalia, Sudan, and Libya. And you have, Google is screaming bloody murder today. They've got 187 people in these countries, and they're telling them get home now before the executive order takes effect. And I'm not sure exactly when that is, but
well, I'm afraid it's already happened. Planes were held up last. Passengers from coming in flights from those countries were delayed already. When they say delayed, and that's getting real news, not fake news like we're used to. That obviously some significant action has taken place to interfere with their travel plans. That would be some start. It might be as big as get out of here, turn around, and go home. And do you really believe that someone coming in from Somalia is coming in to do us any good? Or shouldn't be vetted like nobody's ever been vetted in history? You got to be crazy. He is doing exactly what he said he'd do, hitting many of the extraordinary high points in the shortest period of time in political history. And my prayers are for his protection and accomplishment, because he is stepping on incendiary possibilities every day. I listen. I listen all day to hear what the presidential orders are. I've never had that type of interest in the politics, and mostly when they were put on by Obama, you never heard a word. He certainly
were done in private, in secret.
Right, he never held them up in the air. He never held them up in the air for photographs.
Right.
So we are having colossal changes, and he's not deviating 1 inch from the Donald Trump he was when he was running. He only looks more presidential. He looks more serious. He's already aged from the first day he stepped into this contest. And all of these things coming, listeners know what my preferences are, yours and theirs. And, we've had the left reveal itself as extraordinarily violent. We've really gotten a look at the sob sisters for every cause in the world as having extraordinary tempers and not being beyond the use of what they want to outlaw in the Second Amendment. Okay?
Right.
Everything that has been done has one thing that we have to take into consideration: cost. Every single proclamation has something to do, something that's going to add expenses, and some proclamations or promises, such as reduction of taxes, takes congressional action, Senate action, and I'm not particularly sure if you call yourself a Democrat, you are, or a Republican.
Or a Republican.
You are.
Right.
I mean, one thing we know is Donald isn't. He's a populist.
Yep.
Okay? So we don't know what's going to happen when this stuff unfolds where it requires legislative assistance. But we do know that everything he's promised to do, this man is going to do. There will be a wall. It's as crazy as it sounds. As crazy as it sounds the first day. But effectively, it would work. I mean, the Great Wall of China was obviously wasn't a failure. And we can build anything we wish to build, but it's going to cost. Now, will he get it out of Mexico? He said one way or the other. Okay? One way is Mexico sends a check. Most unlikely.
Not going to happen.
The other is the $60 billion trade deficit that we have alone with Mexico will be attacked tariff-wise. So when I hear him say one way or the other, he will go into a trade war. And the truth of it is,
I mentioned that before the inauguration, that was a trade war is a potential policy error, and we'll find out the ramifications.
Well, in order for him to succeed, his style is he will do what he has to do to make it right, and according to what he said. So if Mexico doesn't think that's possible, there'll never be any change. If you say, Jim, don't you step across that line, I don't think you can do anything, but I better do a hell of a lot of thinking before I decide to step over that line, because you may be prepared to defend it.
Right.
So much, the idea that he differentiated between Christians and Muslims in his presidential order for immigration would have, a couple of weeks ago, if there was no presidential election, been just impossible to mention.
Right.
Impossible to mention.
Yeah, and for listeners that didn't pick that out of the presidential order, he actually said, we will help persecuted Christians.
Yes. And Christianity has been under extraordinary persecution in the Middle East. And the poor people in the Middle East who decided to be Christians long ago found themselves in mortal danger. And as a country, because we have to say whatever the country does or doesn't is what we are, couldn't give a damn. Now, the exception, I think, should follow, and it does follow, all all groups that have no potential for Islamic terrorism. Mm-hmm. I read that as all groups, okay? And there's so much more to see, but remember again, everything has a cost. And everything that he intends to do in the economic sense does give a boost to whatever the matter is.
Actually, there was one area where he cut spending this week, and that was aid to foreign nations to be used for abortion. And
well, I think
I
think he'll do the United Nations because we've never paid him anyway. But I wouldn't be surprised if they got invited to go to Egypt. There's going to be serious cuts, but the expenses that
there has to be.
the expenses that are going to be involved in making this place right are by no manner of means modest. And should the economy pick up all at once, this $4 trillion spring called inflation, sitting out there ready to go any time. So the circumstances are much more to our liking than it was when Obama was running his secret proclamations, almost near 1,000 of them, as I understand. And also when he was exercising his own prejudice when it came to immigration.
Right.
When we had services like express mail with airplanes flying these people in at night.
In the middle of the night. Which
is absolutely true. You're going to find out that what everybody accused us of having tinfoil hats, at least 90% of it was true and is true. But I can see the economy not reacting as ebulliently as we'd like it to. I can see decreased spending, but not decreased by what it would cost to do only one thing, fix our infrastructure. So my thoughts are, because this man is for real, or he wouldn't have done what we've just seen him do, because we must expect that will be continued and fought for where it requires fighting. We have to consider that MSM is going wild. I enjoy in the morning 10 minutes of Trump bashing. Seriously, I mean.
Right. No, I understand. I do the same thing.
Turn on, and if you really want the heavy one, you go to CNN, and then they go downhill from there. But these people are absolutely horrified in the looks in their face when they have to mention what the presidential order was.
Well, Jim, you're mentioning Trump bashing. This week, really the big story on the liberal, or from the liberal media, was the amount of people that showed up to the inauguration, and Trump and the administration said that it was the most viewed. And they've taken him to task by saying that there was 3 to 5 million illegal votes. And the press pushed and they pushed and they pushed, and either yesterday or Thursday, I can't remember which day, now there's going to be an investigation into voter fraud.
And if he did that, which he has done, the one side that's not guilty, or he doesn't know they are, is his side. Because nobody would call in live fire on themselves.
Right.
Well, there are people who would, heroes in war. But outside of heroes in war, nobody goes broken arrow on their own situation if they are guilty.
Well, that's why the recount in Michigan was halted, the recount in Pennsylvania was halted, because they were finding out that there were more votes cast than registered voters in, like, Detroit, Philadelphia. They found out that the voter boxes were in fact stuffed.
They were stuffed. That's going to happen now. We know they were stuffed. Now we have to know who stuffed them, which side.
Well, I mean, that's obvious. You could see who the votes were for. I mean, go back to 2012, and I was not surprised that it was not investigated, because Obama won, and why would he investigate it? But in Philadelphia, there were more votes than registered voters, and they were 100% for Obama. That's not possible.
No, that's a joke. Okay, and the fact that it wasn't investigated is a contributing fact to the supposed people who are taken away by stories of conspiracy. and they are called reprehensible. Okay, the law that it does stand right now about fake news affects you and I, except, thank God, the person who was going to use it to silence the opposition
is gone.
Or I and you wouldn't be having this conversation today. That's for sure.
Right.
Now, it's all of what we're watching. Look, it makes us happy. It makes markets happy. It makes the alternative insurance investments tired. But even in that case, it's still working because of the cost and of the fact that he will try and do it. He will try and build a wall somehow. He will stop immigration. He will look at everybody who's been taken into this country in the last 5 years and do a forensic on who they are, where they are, and what they are.
Right.
This man he's not backing down, and I personally don't think at this personal time he gives a good damn about his own enterprise,
yep.
Because his self-confidence is so great that he wouldn't think for a moment, give me a piece of cardboard and a crayon, and I'll have it all back in 6 months. We really have someone in there who could turn this place around and maybe turn the world around. On the other side, we've got the Soros type with the multi-hundreds behind them.
Right.
Who will do anything, and underscore that word, anything, not to let that happen. We have the new trillionaires in Wall Street who have benefited so much from pay to play that this is the end of their game. We have the manipulators that are so blind to what they're doing and so mesmerized by what they're getting paid to do, they're still doing it. Okay? Well, maybe not as hard as they were before, but they're not quitting. They haven't got it through their head that they are no longer bulletproof. And the appointees that have the Goldman Sachs tail on them, at least some of them have a history of acting independently, something that you and I don't think that Goldman would ever support.
Well, we may see some jail time.
Yeah. Oh, we have to. If you go back to the rule of law, how do you leave lawbreakers free?
Right.
Because then you're not back to what? The rule of law.
Yeah, paying 2% of what you stole is not a penalty. It's
well,
a cost of doing business.
The most childish way of laundering money is charitable trusts. I mean, that is like money laundering 101. I mean, there is no creativity to that at all, and there is a giant paper trail that can be taken apart if the administration is willing. Amazing things can happen if the Oval Office stands behind it. Because you don't think for a second that Volcker could have done what he did unless his president wasn't on his side. It never would have happened.
Right.
Volcker is a master of the universe, but he's never acted unilaterally. He acted with the administration, who knew this whole thing was going to go to hell. When interest rates are 14 and 7/8, that's where you used to trade at eighths on the 10-year. Okay? And he busted the world. So there also needs to be considered that we have a master of what? Managing bankruptcy. Running the country. And what did he just take over? A bankrupt country. And what is he going to do if he reaches his own goals? Save it. But some of it's got to fall apart.
Yeah, it's got to be reorganized.
And the reorg is going to be really, really tough. So I haven't changed my analysis of what you should do. I'm not, at this moment, wanting to run into the stock market and out of gold. The thought hasn't even crossed my mind. because it would be so incorrect. It would be failing to understand the balance, the three most critical points: income, expense, and the entity is bankrupt. Wouldn't it be phenomenal if in 4 or 8 years he could leave with that straightened out? I've always wondered, I mean, is it really the end of the world? Is this the apocalypse coming? Because what's coming down the highway are guys on horseback that don't look too good in every financial situation everywhere. And we have always thought, what could put this country back together again? Because what good is it if we fall into a system, into a basket of anarchy or oligarchy, okay? The two extreme ends. I mean, it's of no benefit to anybody. Now we got a chance. And I don't think it goes down political lines. It had to do that to take birth. But this guy is a populist.
A nationalist. And
he believes in America first. And Americans first, by definition. We haven't had that since the days of the Revolution. So, you know, when you talk about hope and change, they hooked that one onto the wrong administration.
Right.
Because if you ever had hope, and you've already seen one hell of a change, it's now. But there's no way through the combination of cost, expense, and the fact of bankruptcy. And the only way through bankruptcy is to dump the things that can't be saved and save the things that can be. Then reorganize that which could not be saved. I mean, it's pretty big. It's a pretty big mouthful. But he is an expert at it. It shouldn't be the art of the deal. It should be the art of the steal, because that's what deals are. And we have been stolen from in every negotiation we found ourselves in, as if the negotiations were being run to the benefit of the other side.
Right.
And this guy knows how to negotiate and navigate and apply all those things that have caused us all of these difficulties we have. So the goal of the aficionado now is not necessarily a person who believes that there is no way out, that it is Mad Max, it is going to go to hell, and there will be physical revolution. I think things are going to get pretty bad, but I can see how that's a process of turning around the biggest business on earth, the so-called free world, or maybe the entire world. I love the fact that he recognizes that democracy is not something that can be applied everywhere, and that we have no business using the machines of war to make people follow our definition of democracy. We created this entire problem. We, by applying our idea of democracy, Obama's, have done nothing but add accelerant to something that's been on fire for centuries. And we ended up with a conflagration. But we didn't end up with democracy. We took, tough people can only be ruled by nasty bastards. The only people who could keep any sort of order in these countries are just the guys we stuck in a hole with candy bars. It didn't work. Well, I can't tell you what would work, but I think keeping your hands off it might be a good idea.
Let me ask you this. Rex Tillerson this past week, although he's not appointed yet, did comment regarding China, the South Sea Islands, that China would stop building the islands and would not navigate freely in the South Sea. How can he make that statement? How's it? I mean, we're talking about China. How is that?
Well, bear in mind that we got to put the right names on it. The South China Sea, China can't be in. There's something a little bit wrong about that, isn't there? I mean, it doesn't sound like it makes a hell of a lot of sense.
But my question is, I mean, that's kind of like drawing a line in the sand that China's just going to walk right across.
Well, his biggest challenge is China. And China is already itself challenged by its own economic condition. If this was 3 years ago, it would have a scent of terror to it for us, for them. If he accomplishes negotiating anything, that would be the most long-term profitable set of negotiations you could take on, because the potential of having a conflict with China is extraordinarily dangerous at this point in time.
Well, it's dangerous from a military standpoint. It's dangerous from a financial standpoint. I mean, they're already offloading our treasuries.
And the point that
$40 billion a month.
And the point that they're currency manipulators. Do you think we're not?
Right, of course.
Do you think that dollar is a free floater? I mean, are you blind? You know, I know, and our listeners know.
The dollar's overvalued against everything.
Everybody's a currency. Every major nation's a currency is a currency manipulator. Some more successful than others. The two most successful is U.S. and China. Russia hasn't done a grand job in that department. But that is, the point you say, the most dangerous part of change, which we hope is also part of a negotiation that is already started or will start quite quickly, is China-U.S. relationships. But with this guy, I wouldn't write anything off. I'd rather go back to the fact that what he wants to do is infinitely too expensive at a time when we're choking with debt, not to ignite a springboard of inflation that goes hyper. That's his biggest challenge. China's the second. But because what he wants to do versus the income he's going to produce, I mean, even if he was fabulous at being able to work with that equation, wouldn't do any better than break even, leaving us exactly in the same mess we are right now. So he is very much motivated by his own principles, at a point where the whole game is timing, even if we are to change. And he may not, but should, and I'm sure he will, as he gets more information, realize the financial condition that we're in as being almost like a melee trap, where they have the tree pulled back and the spears in the tree on a trip line. And God help us if anybody touches the trip line, no matter how purposeful they are. So, if you're going to argue, and you should, the risks of this type of change, as much as it's happening, as fast as it's happening, in as many presidential areas of dictatorship that we've been through. In other words, there's 1,000 new things out there that just came out, completely went past the Senate and the Congress. And if you're going to attack all 1,000 of those, it's going to have a significant financial price on it. If you cut taxes and cut regulations, you do all the right things to rebuild, but not before the bankruptcy, after the bankruptcy. So I would project feeling very good. I mean, I love to listen to what these things say. because they say sense. They bring me back to the days when people gave up their lives for this place, and they're giving up their lives today. We got special forces everywhere, and all of those have something to do with a either economic or political agenda. Most of which, is not necessary in the form, size, and expense that we're undertaking to fight all these private wars around the world. So there's two sides to the question. One, I feel good. Question two, I know the math doesn't work.
Right. I was about to say the danger is that the truth of our bankruptcy comes to light.
And he's not going to shut up about it. This is not the kind of guy that's going to hide anything. Well, I mean, if he had fiddled, or if the Republicans had fiddled voting anywhere, they wouldn't check voting anywhere.
Right, I agree.
Okay? So, there's going to be so much of a truth bomb, which, by the way, you initiated. The statement belongs to you. You've seen it longer than anyone else has seen it. You put your reputation behind it, and you deserve the accolades for having recognized something that I don't believe anyone else did. Maybe somebody somewhere hiding in a corner did. But there was no major writer or conservative out there who so strongly said, it's not nuclear, it's truth. And it's only started to happen. It's only started to happen. I mean, when you find out that a candidate may have been a career criminal, I mean, it's going to blow away that side of the equation for the next 20 years.
Well, Jim, I had written earlier this past week that it would behoove Mr. Trump to pull the curtain back and show benchmarks. Go just sit down with John Williams and say, okay, what really is the unemployment rate? What really is the inflation rate? What has been the growth rate?
I think he's going to do it.
I mean, that's huge.
I believe that his ears are wide open and have been for a long time to things that we would be forbidden to mention.
Well, that will take the entire global financial system down with it.
But you have to. If you're a specialist at bankruptcy, what do you gain by trying to keep the system working?
Right, I agree.
When it is, in fact, bankruptcy, except to make the end result worse.
Would you agree that he needs to do this in the first, let's say, 30 to 60 days?
No. 6 months.
You think he can wait longer?
I think it's impossible to pour out these presidential orders and get them organized together. I would say that if you were running it, you'd be counseled by people you believe in to say, go a little slow, because every one of these things has with it a storm of some sort or another.
Right.
And you're going to be doing two things at once. A, changing the proclamation, and B, handling the riots you can see and the riots you can't see.
But the longer he waits...
He won't wait a significant amount of time, because the whole theory of curing a bankruptcy is pull the string right away.
Okay.
All right? His theory, the man's theory and applied tactics say that if a business of his starts going bankrupt, he bankrupts it.
Right.
Okay? So interpolating that to what is presently out there, you would have to say that your conclusion that it's going to come in weeks is rational.
Well, I just think it's sooner rather than later, because later...
Oh, it's going to be sooner rather than later.
...with the blame.
But bear in mind, they're going to be sob sister screaming all over the world. These cities that were sanctuaries for, again, the undocumented. Give me a chance. Undocumented means illegal.
Right.
Okay? Where there were the illegal trespassers, and they were tolerated. Those cities aren't going to get a nickel in federal funding.
Well, I can tell you here in Texas, this week the discussion in Austin, which is a sanctuary city, it's like a baby San Francisco, snowflakes all over the place. Governor Abbott piled on top of it and said Austin's not going to get any aid from the state of Texas. And there was one commissioner who stood up and said, you know, I don't think Austinites are really going to like the ramifications, and those being taxes are going to have to be raised immensely.
Immense. Real estate taxes? It's
Yes.
going to bust the real estate market wide open in any city, including San Francisco, and that's why it's already started. I mean, those multi-million-dollar pieces of junk in San Francisco they were selling, where it was a converted candy store, are going to go back to the value of a converted candy store. There's going to be a hell of a mess, out of which I think he will be successful in bankrupting what is not good, while working very hard by the end of 4 years to have it clearly coming out of the hole it's going to fall into anyway. That gives me hope. I mean, I want to see America here.
It was a good week.
Yeah, for us it was a great week. And it was a week of real change and real hope. And judging from him as a businessman, he's going to take it down as fast as he can, but he might have a few things that he's be fighting. And you know, he's a one-man show. He'll listen to you know, Bulldog says something, he isn't going to be fired for saying it. But the decisions you see being made are made by him. He's a maverick, a total maverick. But the greatest people in this country put their lives and their fortunes on the line when they told King George to go to hell.
Right.
Okay? Well, he's telling Obama and his friends, Soros and his crew,
and his friends,
and we could keep going down the line, Go to hell, boys. Your days are over. And they all are paper rich. So the flow into gold could be something that beyond what you and I ever thought of. And the flow out of currency, therefore the flow out of the marketplace, could be catastrophic. And this whole idea of no currency, the big one they're playing now, if you want to control the world, that's how you go about it. Because if you don't have currency transactions, government's in full control. Because every transaction you have will go through a computer at the NSA.
Right.
And you could be the most honest guy in the world, but privacy is our right. Part of what this man stands for is privacy. And I don't think you'll see a big rollback in the need to know, but it will be the need to know, not to know to control. There's a big difference.
To add to that, going to a cashless digital society where, you know, you're talking about from the privacy standpoint, I would look at it from the standpoint of anybody could wake up any morning and be completely frozen.
Sure, because they had too much money, and therefore they could be suspected of committing a crime.
Right.
Just the same as they're validating the fact that they can take from you, out of your car, your gold bars that are under the seat because you wanted to transport them, on the basis that that's too much secret money.
Right.
To have. You must be planning a crime, so sue me in about 20 years, see whether you get your money back. The way we were going was horrible. The way we were going would force you and I definitely out of this country. But where? Where would we find sanctuary?
Where to hide?
Yeah, and you know, nobody likes us, so that immediately takes 80% of the world away. I mean, believe me, we get pandered to, but we are not liked. We are hated, the Americans. And in many instances, they're right. We should be.
They like the money you spend.
They don't want your body, but you can ship in all cash you want.
Yeah.
But we did it. I mean, we've been in everybody's face. We've told everybody what to do, and we spied on everybody. If you don't think we spied on Great Britain and France, then, you're being a child.
Right.
We spied on we were spying on ourselves.
Yes.
We were headed at warp speed to a system which we might as well have one king of the world and no rule of law. And
that was the plan.
That's what this fellow is trying to roll back. My greatest fear is for him.
I wholeheartedly agree. Well, Jim, we had a great week.
We've had a wonderful week.
Here's hoping to another blockbuster week.
Let him double up. Okay, let him double down every week going forward.
Exactly.
Let him get everything he said in place and let him pull it off, because it is the thesis of how you apply your power to a bankruptcy in order to recover to a solvent situation. It's what you and I would have to do if we saw something we were doing going bankrupt.
Well, it sounds like a reset to me.
That is a reset.
Yes.
The entire place is getting reset.
Yep.
And the markets on their own will create the price of the reset. In other words, gold will go to a price because of lack of physical that has, in truth, been acquired by our trillionaires over the last many years. But the system will be, as you and I know, a transition of the mechanism for price discovery from paper, fail, to physical, no fail.
Right.
But those kind of things exist everywhere. I mean, it isn't just gold. That can be applied in
it's
energy.
Everything. It's labor. It's, you name
coal,
it. Yes.
You name it.
Yep.
We're in for one hell, and I mean that in a complimentary way, of the next 12 months. If he survives, he may go down as the father of the new country. The new
may go down as the father of a new country without California if they vote.
Hey, listen to me. Anything could happen. Okay?
No idea.
Don't put anything. All liberals might have to move there, and then
Hillary
you got
will be president.
And then you got the San Andreas Fault. Okay.
They'll have to pull the wall in a little bit.
Well, I'm sure there's some way to make it start floating towards Hawaii.
Yeah. Well, Jim, you have a great week. God bless you. God bless our listeners. And hopefully we had a little mix-up this past week getting the interview out. It didn't go out till Monday night, but
yeah, we're working on straightening a lot of that kind of stuff out so it doesn't happen again.
All right. Well, have a great week.
I'll have a terrific week, and thank you very much, Bill. It was a great honor to be able to discuss this. I never believed we'd have that chance.
Well, I'm smiling.
I'm flying too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Bill.